Boom, boom, boom. What's up, everybody? Adam Pecora here, and you have tuned in to Requiem for a Tuesday. How the hell are ya? Big one today, bittersweet. As you heard, the theme music unedited, completely as is to start the episode. We got Curb Your Enthusiasm ending last night after 12 seasons, a 24-year period of said seasons, 25, whatever. How do you start? See, that was a nice little Jewy inflection right there. I'm getting in my Jew mode for Larry. First, we got to plug it up, though. What am I talking about? Rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, Requiem for a Tuesday, on the platform you listen to. Or, frankly, if you're not that interested, subscribe to it on a platform you don't listen to, and it won't even pop up because you won't notice, you know? Apple, Spotify, YouTube, the available channels. The main ones, we're on all the weird little obscure things, too, that apparently some people use. I don't know. You would think that streaming's a scenario where you want to be on the popular one because that's when you actually have access to everything. I don't know what's on the other ones. I don't want to find out. But I'm on there, so if you're a weirdo, find those on whatever you're on. Check out the music, Multiplex, WolfX. We'll see if there's ever another WolfX release. Let's just be honest. I don't know if that's in the cards. That might be retired. We'll see. Just throwing it out there. So if you want to hear some classics, check those out. Multiplex, new record within 3 years. That's the announcement and timeline that I'm willing to commit to with confidence. I think within 3 years we can get something done. Follow me on Instagram at adam.rfat. The merch for the podcast. See, I knew I left something off of there. rfat.bigcartel.com. Everything linked in the description below. Check it all out. We got lots of goodies, lots of art, lots of merch. Not lots of merch, but lots of art that's free. So, what more can you ask for? Now, back to the icon that is Larry David. Now, look, season 12, not the best season of Curb. I think everyone can agree with that. But it's pretty clearly just let's just get together, hang out one more time, let's have a good time. We're not going to put a ton of effort into these, stories. We're just going to riff and have a lot of fun. Now, pretty weak. So, in turn, kind of a weak year for the other characters because they didn't get as much to do. They're more just improvising in certain scenes. So it's kind of hit or miss. I mean, great Leon season as always. JB Smoove just going 1,000 miles an hour. But I don't know, Susie and Jeff were never really involved in the story. He was just at their house hanging out. So I don't know, kind of a weak Jeff year for me. Susie's anger was forced a lot more of the time. Look, what can you do? Richard Lewis was confined to sitting down the whole time. His face, pretty rough. Look, rest in peace to that guy. I'm just saying. They kind of, what used to be a season-long arc type of show outside of the first season, they kind of went back to what the first season was, where the arc was still there this time, but very, very loose. It's kind of they just did sitcom style, a new story per week. They're not really connected in any way, and that's all good and fine. I guess my point is just it was a bit jarring being used to the formula of Curb. Although, the more recent 2 or 3 seasons had gone into a more absurdist, so at times surrealist comedy vein. So you know what? It's not like it's all been hyper consistent stylistically. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I've noticed something off about each episode. Let's just say that. I guess almost the problem is that they're trying to force a story into all of it when we could just watch them all bullshit. And I don't know. Just not the same. But look, it doesn't matter. The highs are just as high as ever. You're getting good laugh out loud laughs every week. I could do without some of the stuff, but whatever. That's fine. The finale itself, which is what we're really here to talk about. That's what really matters. Head and shoulders above every episode this entire season. Obviously, from the jump, they had set up the Curb finale, or at least this season's finale. You know, technically it could keep going. I don't think that it will. Larry David's pretty old, losing a lot of friends, you know. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. They set it up with the Georgia thing right away, that the finale for this was going to be a trial, a la the Seinfeld finale. And that they were going I assumed that they were going to recreate the finale ever since episode 1. And I guess, you know what? Let's just be honest. Now that I'm talking it out, maybe that's where the whole last part that I said came into effect. Because when I saw the first episode, I was like, oh, great. This is going to be like a season build-up toward the Seinfeld finale happening again. And then it just wasn't, and it was all kind of really loose and all over the place with it. And maybe that was what was just jarring to me. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter that it was foreseeable from episode 1. They still fucking nailed it. It was awesome. Also, some of the hardest pure laughter from all of the characters in this episode that they just kept in, like, everybody just fucking let it loose, and you could see just how truly happy Larry David is in those moments, and that's really what matters here. We all just want Larry to be happy. So anyway, you know, given all the great bits in the episodes, they finally kind of wrap up the story in that everybody's going to Georgia for the trial. Same premise happens, you know, they bring up people from throughout the history of Curb. A lot less in-depth than on Seinfeld, because Seinfeld, you know, it was truly trying to be the finale for all of it. So a little bit less than that, but it's all the same beats. Jerry Seinfeld himself also comes back for the finale. Kind of expected that. I kind of thought he would be involved more throughout the season, to be honest. So it was a little surprise at that, but whatever, you know. Makes sense. Look, Larry has famously maintained that he thinks the Seinfeld finale is good. I'm also in that minority that I'm surprised is a minority. I've always loved the Seinfeld finale. I think it's incredibly fitting to the series in every way. And like anybody who wanted the lame sitcom ending, like I just don't know what show you were watching. Like, you know, whenever I read that was like the criticism of it, I just don't get it, frankly. Like, obviously, I didn't watch it at the time. I was, 3, I think, if that, when it aired. So I didn't know what the hell was going on. But upon seeing the entire series front to back, like, it's a phenomenal ending. I've always thought that as a child. I think it now as an adult. This has been a motif throughout Curb Your Enthusiasm. As well, it comes up every now and then, most famously the Seinfeld reunion season, which to me is also the greatest television reunion in history. You know? Everybody, the fact that happened and people are still like, well, what if there's a Seinfeld reunion? It's like, that was it. They did it. As a show within a show, which is incredibly fitting for it. And the way it was done, it's all very fitting for Seinfeld, which is an unorthodox show from the jump. Both Seinfeld and Curb were essentially founded on the idea that Larry David is uncompromising. And so Larry David does what he thinks is the best move, and it's almost always been the right move. So I don't know. Also a famous Curb thing, he makes fun of the movies he tried to do that failed, which is great. I mean, the guy has just been a force. Obviously, he left Seinfeld for 2 seasons. But other than that, comes back for the finale, then basically goes right into Curb. The guy's just been doing one giant piece this whole time. Like, Curb is just him starring in Seinfeld as a rich guy. You know, like it's just the same. There are certain jokes that overlapped Seinfeld in the earlier seasons. And all the things that they are discussed are all in the same vein the whole time. And yeah, Curb was just a much raunchier, heavier version of that. Beyond just swearing, a lot more overtly sexual topics and all things of that nature. Which the previous cast coming back kind of reminds you of. Like, there's a scene where he is accused by a Girl Scout of having a boner because he has a water bottle in his pants when they hug. He makes a Jewish woman drop out of a ski lift because she can't be with a man after sundown and they're stuck, and she like breaks her leg or whatever. He just goes, "Are you fucking crazy?" or whatever. Amazing stuff. Front to back. The Seinfeld season is, of course, my favorite, just as a Seinfeld fan. But season 4 and 5 of Curb are pretty unbelievable. They're all fantastic, though, for them. I mean, you know what I mean? There's things that I can nitpick to where I'll like some more than others, but they all end up being fucking amazing. And like I said, this is the one where the arc is the least paid attention to. I would still rewatch these episodes. You know, it's when you're judging from such a high bar that it's like, you know, it's a disservice to compare it to the previous seasons, I suppose. That's my conceit. That's on me. There's just, like I said, such a high bar to hold it to with all the other great comedy that has come from this show. So anyway, then all the beats continue the same way. Larry is convicted. He gets a year from Hank Schrader is the judge for some reason. One of the things about Curb that has always bothered me when they have famous people play themselves, but then they'll have just as famous of people play characters. I suppose that's a joke within a joke, but to me it's just distracting because you're so used to them addressing the other people as famous people. Shout out to Ted Danson, too, throwing him in at the end, getting him some last-minute jokes. He was always fucking awesome on this show. This season, the least of which, they really gave him, like, nothing to do. But it's fine. Like I said, it's all fine. Anyway, so then he gets sentenced, does the same exact thing where he goes to the cell, and he starts having the conversation about his pants, having the little boner thing, which is basically the way Seinfeld, they had the same conversation from the first episode again, which is brilliant. Again, I don't know, people don't see how that's brilliant. But this time, then after it zooms away like it's going to end, Jerry Seinfeld himself walks back there and is like, "All right, man, come on, I got you out." And he's like, "Wait, what are you talking about? You got me out." And he's like, "Well, I was at a bar and I saw a guy who looked like Joe Pesci. And then I realized he's on the jury, and the jury was sequestered, which means he left the sequestering, so this is a mistrial." Obviously, some dumb bullshit TV show thing that would happen at the last second for somebody to get out of it. And he goes, "You got to be kidding me. That's fantastic." And then Jerry goes, "You know, this is how we should have ended the finale." And Larry goes, "Yeah, we probably should have. You're right." And it's just one last dig at the Seinfeld finale while doing the Seinfeld finale again with one little extra bit where they all happen to get off at the last second, thus making it like the funny, happy ending. And they can all just continue on their way, which is what happens. The Curb cast is then seen on a plane flying home, acting exactly the same as they always have, not having learned a lesson from the jail sentence. No hugging, no learning, always. And that was a main part of this last episode too. Like, some woman tried to force her daughter to apologize to Larry, and she was taking too long, so he wanted to leave. And she's like, no, you have to let me get this lesson out. And he's like, fuck you, lady. And he gets in the girl's face, and he's like, I'm 76, and I've never learned anything. And they did that a few times throughout the episode where I never learned a lesson. It was about fucking on the floor. And just beautiful. Really just beautiful stuff. So thank you, Larry David. Rest in peace, Richard Lewis, Bob Einstein, any other great cast members we may have lost along the way. What a phenomenal journey. I remember being in early high school around the time I got into Curb finally. It was really just more of an access thing. There was no HBO to be found. And that, that was right around the same time I got into torrents. So, torrented myself every season of Curb. Sat and watched it at the old desktop computer in the living room with headphones on at probably 480p full screen. Didn't make a difference in the world. Getting yelled at because of how loud I'm laughing while people are trying to watch TV. It's like, well, if you guys would just agree to watch Curb, do you not see the irony here? Nonetheless, different times. But of course, shitty headphones too. Just everything about it, low quality, very low quality. Except for the comedy. The comedy quality was always high, thanks to Larry and company. And who knows if he does anything next. Maybe a movie. Love to see that. A sequel to Sour Grapes, perhaps. But I don't know. Maybe he's finally retiring. He took took him 24 years to do 12 seasons of Curb. It's not like he didn't take his time and enjoy himself along the way. So maybe he's got some energy left. Who knows? The guy's pretty old. But I'll keep watching anything that happens. Maybe he'll just become a podcast guest frequently. I'd enjoy that. He pops in some every now and then. So shout out Larry David. Whatever life comes next. Wow, that was terrible. Whatever comes next for you in life, I'll be right there, supporting you. And if that just means you're playing golf and yelling at people in private, then so be it. Thank you for your service, Lawrence David. Never wavered, which I can respect more than anything, because look, the guy was 100% right. That's the thing. It's that he wanted control, he got control, and nailed it, and did the best. And it's more advocacy for similar things. Directors want final cut. The ones that deserve it, deserve it. If you don't give it to them, you're just foolish, in my opinion. The truly great artists, nobody's going to know better than them. And he was right about everything. And that's why to this day, there's not a show that comes close to Seinfeld other than Curb Your Enthusiasm. And it's because they're written by the same guy with the same sense of humor, interested in exploring the same topics. We probably never will have a TV show that is that perfect, especially on network. I don't know what the future of network TV is going to be like. But what, Abbott Elementary is the only one that stands out to me as one that has been acclaimed for doing anything significant with the form this decade so far, and I still haven't watched it. I'll check it out, but is it going to be a Pantheon all-timer, or is it just going to be a good show to pass the time? A la New Girl. Now, I know there's some New Girl fanatics out there, but if you want to compare that show to Seinfeld, it's like, well, you can completely erase New Girl from my memory, and I will not be emotionally affected in the slightest, despite thoroughly enjoying it much more than I thought I would. Throughout its run, there was a lot of good stuff in there. The Good Place is another example. That was a fine show to watch, but all time, no. You know, a good concept. They did interesting things with said concept. But what are we talking about here? I mean, for me, Parks and Rec is one of them, but I know that it's probably not for the greater good. I don't know what that means. But it's probably not on everybody's long-term list. Like The Office probably is, which it wouldn't be for me. But at least there's one. The Office, Friends, Seinfeld. Like, those are the only three. I don't think The Big Bang's going to hold up, even though those ratings were monstrous. Are people revisiting that already? I doubt it. And why would they later? I don't know. But anyway, I love how Curb Your Enthusiasm was basically just a long list of nitpicks throughout life to just get out. And that's what I love to do on this show. Centered around movies and the little nitpicks within. But I'll sprinkle in some bullshit I got to deal with every now and then. And, you know, I don't know if that would be a part of even my mental analysis if Seinfeld and Curb were not so formative for me. It's hard to say. Would it be my sense of humor at all if not for those? I don't know. But I feel like I learned my love for minutia from these Jews. So thank you, New York Jews. You know what I like. This is one of those episodes that I was nervous about doing, and I stalled a lot throughout this recording. It may not seem like it, and look, I only spent 20 fucking minutes on it, so I'm already probably exaggerating as far as you're concerned. But this is just one of those where it's like, I'm gonna turn this off, I'm gonna publish this, and I'm gonna go, man, there's 150 more things I wish I would have said about it. And look, if you want to talk to me about Curb, rfatpodcast@gmail.com. Adam.RFAT on Instagram. We can discuss it, and I can give you more opinions and thoughts that maybe you can bring out of me. I'm one man in a room just trying to keep it together. But speaking of things that I don't understand, we'll close with this real quick. Today was also an eclipse. Yay. What is the big deal with this shit? Everybody's a fucking 5-year-old walking around with these stupid glasses on, staring at the sky going, ooh. I mean, what are we doing, guys? I could not be more baffled at grown adults being amazed by such fucking nonsense. Now, before I continue, if you're one of those people who's like, well, by me it got crazy, I could kind of see it. If you're one of those like central southern people who got like the full thing where it got dark in front of you, like it was nighttime for a second, that's sick. That's what it's supposed to be. That is what it has been advertised as the entire time. But if you're not in those specific locations, it just looks like the beams of the sun are coming out more than they normally would. And then you put the glasses on, and it's just a crescent moon. But yeah, I get it. It's a piece of the sun instead. Ooh. Like I haven't seen a crescent in the sky. I mean, what are we doing? It was the equivalent of a cloudy day. Oh, sometimes the cloud goes over the sun. Oh, then the cloud moved. Now the sun's brighter again. What are we doing? I mean, that was the most nothing bullshit waste of time. People are going in and out of buildings, checking it every 15 minutes. It's flooding the internet of all these people being like, I looked at the eclipse. Isn't that awesome? No, it's not awesome. Get back to fucking work. What are we doing? That may be the weakest moment in American history. I mean, grow a fucking pair of balls, America. I get it. Hey, you got a 6-year-old kid who's really into it, and you gotta like hype him up, and you gotta play the character of I'm a dork, and I think this is cool. It's not cool, man. Ooh, a tiny orange sliver in the sky. That's not very similar to anything we experience regularly. Give me a fucking break. I get it, though. I'm just the cynical one. Whatever. I'm still right. God damn it. But the two things in the sky are in the same place. Like, what are we talking about? Ooh. I hope I antagonized some of you at the very least, but it's really just a personal disappointment. I mean, whatever. If you liked it, you liked it. Congrats. But I mean, I just went out there and looked at it. I was like, yeah, I just don't get the hype at all. I'm just dead inside compared to you guys. If you guys actually are excited about this, then I'm just genuinely confused. It was like this one time. What's the planetarium called? The Adler Planetarium, I believe. So there's a planetarium on the lake here in Chicago, and they have this giant telescope behind it, as well as like whatever the big one is that's part of it. I don't know. I don't know shit about planetariums, okay, because I'm not in the first grade anymore. Excuse me. But the telescope behind it has like a weekly or bi-weekly or bi-monthly something event where you can basically just walk up and go look through said telescope. Now, I was under the impression that this was like some crazy ass telescope, and I was about to see like beyond the atmosphere into space. But instead, you just like still see the atmosphere, but with like a little like beam of light at the end, which just looks like what a star looks like to the naked eye, but up close. So it's like taking a picture of the sun. And that's it. I mean, it was like zooming in on a picture of the sun with no rays on it. Like, it was nothing. And I was a little devastated inside. We waited in line. I was like nervous. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like lose my breath when I see what I see through this scope. And then it was nothing. It was nothing. And so excuse me for having high expectations when it comes to space. I'll take a full blood moon over any of the bullshit that I saw today. Okay? Those are nice. That's like a juicy plum in the sky. That looks crazy. That looks like something's going on. Anyway. That was my like curb-worthy take, in my opinion. I bet Larry David would be on my side with this eclipse bullshit. People behaving like this. It's unseemly. You know what I mean? Anyway, rest in peace to Curb. Rest in peace to the eclipse. Thank God that won't be happening again, and I won't have to deal with you children. Next week, we got some stuff. So this week I was gonna do Sicario, but the Curb finale came up, totally threw me for a loop. So I'm thinking Sicario, and I'm gonna leave the other one a mystery because it's a smaller movie and the connection is loose. So I'm not gonna spoil the loose connection that will sound stupid in a teaser. Sicario next week. Denis back at it. Fucking love Denis, dude. I'll suck his dick right now. Rate, review, and subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday. Check all the links in the description below. Apple, Spotify, you name it. Give us a rate, give us a like, give us a review. And remember, I are fat, you are fat, we are fat. Subscribe. Calculator.